The next Photoshop technique I'd like to show you I call redesigning smiles using library teeth. And this, what I'm going to show you now, is what some very sophisticated programs that are actually quite expensive really do. We're going to take other people's teeth, or maybe teeth that you've done on other patients that you've taken pictures of, that we're going to import into our patient's face and replace their existing teeth to show them potentially what you'd like them to look like. And so we're going to need a full face image of our patient smiling, and we're going to go into our library of teeth. And I would recommend that you start collecting a library of maybe 4 or 5 smiles of nice teeth. It could be like the center image, somebody that you just happen to like their teeth, and you need a full view, a full retracted view from molar to molar. Or it could be maybe a nice veneer case you did, or a nice reconstruction, or even a smile design that you have done that you've just saved. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to open these images up. I'm going to select all of them, and we're going to open them into Photoshop together. Again, we'll open them into Camera Raw. So all 4 of them will open into Camera Raw. I can select all of them by doing this, or just click on one of them to select at a time. So I'm going to look at each image and maybe just quickly adjust each image just visually to how I like it. I don't like the saturation. I'm going to take down the saturation, not that much, just a little bit here. On this, I think that image is slightly oversaturated. It's maybe a little bit too much down, maybe a teeny bit brighter. Okay, let's take a look at this. That looks okay. A little bit dark on this image, so let's take that up just a little bit. Possibly just a teeny bit too saturated. So again, just making some quick visual adjustments to how I like it. A little bit too much blue, so we'll move toward the yellow here. Possibly teeny bit too much saturation, so let's just take the saturation down. So we're trying to kind of reasonably calibrate these images. Now I realize they're all taken at slightly different angles, but we'll compensate that for in a minute. Excuse me. So we'll select all. We need to select all of them. So select all, and we will open into Open Images, and all 4 of them will open into Photoshop. Now the first thing that we're going to want to do, now they're all slightly different sized as you can see, which is no problem. We'll deal with that later. I'm going to shrink this image down by Command or Control minus to shrink that down, just to get that out of the way a little bit. And then we're going to activate this main image of his face. And what we're going to want to do now is we're going to put those other teeth in here. He doesn't like these teeth, so we're going to quickly show him maybe what some other teeth would look like. And this is a very nice and fast technique. So find 2 or 3 images of retracted views you like and the full face smiling view of the patient. So we're going to grow this up, Command or Control 0 to fill in the full image here. So the first thing that we do is Command or Control J to duplicate this layer. So I'm pushing Command and J here. And then we have a new layer of his face. So we have 2 layers stacked on top. And then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put a set of teeth in here in between those teeth, okay? And then we're going to have that show through, and I'll show you how we do that. All right, so let's start first with maybe these teeth, since it's close by. So we'll click on this to activate that. And to bring those teeth into here, we're going to use the Move tool, this tool up in here. And you see it way up in the upper left. It's already highlighted. The hotkey is the V. So you could push on the V tool or the V key. So I can push on the V, and I'm going to drag this down, and it's going to bring that in and bring it on top. And you can see it's already, it's a significantly larger image. That's not a problem at all. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to kind of initially start to size that to his face. And a quick way to size it is up in the Edit, Free Transform, and the hotkey is Command or Control T. But Free Transform, I'm going to click on Free Transform, and a box is going to come up around this image here. I'm going to need to move it over so I can see the corner of the box there. And I'm going to start to shrink this down. And how you shrink it down, I'm going to grab a corner. And I need to shrink it proportionately. To shrink it proportionally, I'm going to hold down the Shift and the Alter Option key. And I'm doing that, holding the Shift and Alter Option key. And I'm going to grab and click on this corner and shrink this down so it's about the size of his teeth here. Yeah, it could be a little bit bigger, a little smaller right now. That doesn't matter, and just let go. And now we're sort of sizing it to him. Great. It's a little bit big right now, but that's fine. That doesn't matter right now. Now to apply that, it's still active. I have to hit the enter or return, or push on the enter or return key, which I'm going to do right now. Just pushing on it, and that just now activated it. Now it's on top. That layer is on top, and we want to put that underneath as his new teeth. And how we do that is we're going to grab here. Let's go over here with our mouse, and we're going to grab and click on this layer. It says layer 2, new teeth, and let's go down here and put it in between here. Drag in between, so it's in between. It just went underneath there. It's just underneath, and I'm turning that top layer on and off. And you might want to call that, so let's double click on that layer, and we'll just call that teeth 1 as an example. Okay, new 1 or something, whatever you want. You can call it anything you want. Okay, great. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to get rid of his old teeth in the upper image here. And so how we're going to do that is this. We're going to highlight this layer that's on top, and we're going to erase his teeth so we can see through there, and then we'll resize the other teeth underneath. Now I'm going to zoom in quite a bit so you can see this quite easily. Now the quick way to zoom is to push on the Z key to activate the zoom tool, and then you can see that little plus sign, and right on the center of his teeth I'm going to put it there and click, and it zooms, and you can see that zoom, and we've zoomed in quite a bit. And that was probably just a go backwards 1 there, and move it around there. Great. Okay. Now, I want to get rid of all this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it, and then I'm just going to erase it or delete it. So I'm going to come up here and use one of the lasso tools up here on the left here, where you see my mouse up in the left here, and you see lasso tool. But I'd like to have what's called the polygon lasso tool. It's not activated, so I'm going to double click on this menu, find the polygon lasso tool. There it is, and it came up. Perfect. Okay. Now I accidentally double clicked and something happens. It doesn't like it, so I click OK, and I can start over. All right, great. And I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to click. And what you want to do when you do this, you want to click, and you want to just capture a teeny bit, a pixel or 2 of the lips. So this is just going to take a second or 2 here, and it's going to take maybe a minute or 2 to do this particular selection. The other selection I wanted to be just inside the lips when I was using the liquid tool, not getting any of the lip. This I do want to get a teeny bit of the lip. Okay. All right, so I'm going along. I can go off the side here to move it and come back, and I'm getting a pixel or 2 of the lips. And remember what I said on the other chapter, if I get some extra mistakes, or if I make some mistakes, excuse me, how do I get rid of a mistake? Delete, 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 and I'm back to where I started. There we go. Now this does need to be precise. I need to just really take a couple of minutes here and get rid of everything between the lips. Now I could have zoomed in a little bit more, but I can see this fine, and hopefully you can see this fine on your computer screen at this size. I could have zoomed in quite a bit bigger, and that maybe is a little bit too much of the lip, so I'm going to back up just a little bit there. I said I want to get just a couple of pixels, just very, very little of the lip, not leaving any of the teeth. And I'll set a pixel, let's say roughly about half or a third of the thickness, or set a point, excuse me, about every half or third of the thickness of a tooth. Let's come off over here and move that off to our right. Okay. I gotta pay close attention to this. All right, so I'm coming along just inside the lips here. It's a little dark there, so hard to see, and just kind of making a little circle there. Capture that area right there. And we're selecting all of the teeth and a pixel or 2 of the lips. Great. All right, now if the smoothness isn't too good, I go up into select, If you got a little rough selection, you could do it again. Or I could go select Modify Smooth, and my typical smoothness is maybe somewhere from 3 to 5. Let's plug in 4 pixels, click OK. Good. That looks like reasonably smooth. All right, now, it doesn't matter what layer you select on, but it matters what layer I'm going to apply the action on. So what I would like to do is I'd like to eliminate the teeth on the top layer. And so let's go and make sure that layer is active. So let's click over here. That needs the active layer is the blue layer. With that active, I'm going to go up to my keyboard or on my keyboard, look for the delete key. And right now I'm going to push on the delete key, and essentially I'm just cutting a hole in that image, and we're going to look right through there. And now what we see is through there, and we see those teeth underneath. All right, great. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we need to deactivate our selection. Otherwise, it'll do screwy things. So remember, at this point, we're going to deactivate that selection. How do we do that? Well, if you forget select, deselect, you could do it up there. All right, that's one way. Or you could do Command or Control D. Command or Control D right here. It shows you the hotkey. So we'll deselect. All right, now let's zoom back out a little bit. Command or Control minus. Okay. Just zoom out a little bit so we can see him a little bit more. And now you can start to see, I'm going to hide these images a little bit more behind just so you don't get distracted so much. Well, we're going to use them a little bit later, so we're going to need them. Okay, so now he looks pretty funny. And sometimes, again, it's good to do this in front of the patient because usually you'll get a chuckle or two. All right, now what we're going to do now is we're going to size these teeth to him. All right, we're going to activate this layer again, layer number 2. Okay, that we could have named teeth, like I chose not to do it, but I could have, like I said. All right, now how do we do that? One of my favorite tools to use is called Free Transform, we just used a minute ago. The hotkey for that is Command or Control T. So Command or Control T, here we go, and there's a bounding box that's going to come up, and it's going to allow me, I can click and drag. So I'm just clicking and dragging and centering the teeth about where they need to be, that little box about where it needs to be, and that little thing you see in the center there, that's going to stay there. If, and when I change this, I'm going to change the shape of this, I'm going to shrink this box down. I'm going to hold down the Shift and Option or Alt. Option if it's a Mac, Alt if it's a PC. All right, hold that down, and it's going to change proportionately, and it's going to change from that center little piece. And now what I'm doing now is just kind of fitting the teeth to his face, just visually, without making any kind of big measurements at all. All right, so great. That's starting to look pretty good for him. All right, now I can just grab and move this around, and I can use right arrow, up arrow, down arrow. All right, now another little tool, the same box here, I can, see I'm moving the arrow around until I get a half arrow, and I can rotate this a little bit and rotate that to his face. Now you can see we have a little plane of occlusion issue over here. So his issue, it may be a little rotation issue here. So there's a really little cool tool that's only in Photoshop. Okay, so we're going to go over to the Edit menu, Edit, Transform, Warp. And while this is active, this Warp tool comes up. And now what I can do is I can now just selectively just warp and grab this little circle here in this box. And it's now just slightly changing this area right here, okay? And so in other words, what I'm doing, I'm just custom forming visually what I think is going to look good in his particular face right there. All right, and that is maybe a smile line that's a little bit better for him, okay? And then I can also use that other tool, Liquify, if you remember you learned in an earlier chapter, to slightly customize, okay? So I'm going to maybe flatten the plane of occlusion right here just a little bit. All right, I can come back here. Now I can toggle back and forth the Free Transform by Command T, and it goes back to the normal Free Transform, and maybe I just rotate it a little bit too much. So I'm rotating it back. Now if I want to distort this a little bit, I can. So now if I wouldn't hold down the Shift or Option Alt to just say I want to broaden the smile a little bit, I could have. That's going to change the proportion a little bit. All right, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, completely zoom out, Command or Control 0, so that now we can see, the full face here. Now if I wanted to apply that, I do. Now if I get out of that, if I want to apply that, I kind of like that, maybe up or down just a little bit. All right, great. I hit the Enter key. All right, so I just put a new smile in his mouth, and I said, maybe I like that, maybe he likes it, maybe he doesn't like it. All right, so, here is the before. I'll turn these two off, and I have to turn these two on for the after. Okay, before, after. Okay, now one of the cool things about this, let's just say we like this, and he likes this, and we could plug in as many smiles the same way as that from your smile library. You do exactly the same way. But let's say now that you say, okay, I'm kind of liking that. He's kind of liking that. You're getting him motivated. Remember, this is just a motivational tool. This is all this is. This isn't occlusion or anything else. This is a 5-minute tool to get people motivated that you start doing your other things, your design waxing, your aesthetic prototypes or mock-ups, to start working out all the things we need to do functionally and finalizing your aesthetics. All right, but one of the things that'll help you to see if you're going to need adjunctive therapy like orthodontics, let's zoom in here a little bit. Okay, and let's say we kind of like those new teeth. That doesn't look too bad with his lips. All right, now I'm going to highlight this layer. And what I can do now is I can start making, let's look up in here in the layers palette right over here. I'm going to make this semi-transparent. I can start looking through there and start talking to the patient and say, got a little bit of a problem here, okay? Don't know if I can do that. And he says, well, what do you mean? I said, well, without orthodontics, I can't get your teeth over here. I can't get your teeth over here. This is a little too far. Here I could do, here we're looking pretty good here. Here I think we could do this over here without doing, too much in the way of movement, stuff like that. He says, well, wait a minute, well, what can you do? All right, well, here's what you can do. Then you can say you can save this and do another one. Well, how do you do that? You highlight this layer, and then you're going to do Command or Control J, like you've just been doing, and I just duplicated that copy. Okay, I'm going to turn this copy off for a second, come back to this copy. All right, now looking through that copy, okay, so I've got two of the same thing. We're going to change one of them, and how do we change it? So with him sitting there, I'm going to say, okay, well, sir, here's what let's go, you don't want orthodontics. Everybody says that today. I'm going to show you what I think I can do just restoratively. So I'm going to bring up Free Transform again. Here we go, Command or Control T. That box comes up, and I'm going to move this over a little bit. I've got to bring your midline back over just a hair there, all right? I think I can do that. I think I can move your midline. I'm okay with that. Probably if I restoratively, I can come over here. I've got a little bit of a problem. This is just probably too much over here to move this. All right, so I think we're going to have to bring this in just a hair. And so the first thing I'm probably going to do is then bring up this warp tool again. And so the warp tool allows me to selectively change this side without changing the other side too much. Okay, so I just grab these lines and I'm just bringing these back in a little bit because I know that I can only move this, maybe this contact area 0.5 millimeter restoratively. And then let's do the same thing over here. Okay, same thing. I'm probably just doing a little bit too much here. Okay, that looks pretty good. That looks okay. And then what I can do now is I can make it totally opaque and kind of look through there, and I say, yeah, that doesn't look too bad. I just check this slider again, and I think I can do that. We don't know, sir, unless we try this out with function. All right, so that's what I think I can do. All right, without checking some things out and without doing orthodontics. I think we're pretty good right there. All right, now let me apply that. All right, so let's go back to this one. All right, and turn that back on, and I'm going to make that 100% opaque. Okay, so I'm going to turn, so here was our first one, and I'll zoom back out. Okay, put that in the center right there. There's our first one, and you kind of liked, but I just really don't think we can do that. It's just too much. Here's our second one, a little narrower arch form. You can see that wasn't such a big change. We're going to end up maybe a little bit more, buccal corridor right there. And you obviously explain what all these terms mean to everybody. How would that sound? So you're getting a better idea of what it's going to look like. Now, later on, we'll talk about how we measure this. And it's quite easy to measure in Photoshop, the changes. We have to have an analog measurement first. But anyway, that's how I do it. And then if this person doesn't like this particular smile, doesn't like the shape of teeth, then certainly you can change it. You can change anything. I'll just show you one other quickie. So let's just say this was the one that you decided that you want, the one on top. We're going to just turn this one off. And the patient says, nah, it's just a little too long for me. I like everything, no problem. Highlight it, Command or Control T. Turn it on, the transform, and just shorten it a little bit at the edge right there. How does that sound to you? That's easier for you occlusally to do something like that. Great. Okay. Maybe that's a little bit better than what he started with. Okay. So there's the new teeth, old teeth, new teeth, old teeth, new teeth, old teeth. Okay. And then we'll talk about digital measuring in another chapter. All right, let's add a second set of teeth, a second smile design, and show you how quickly it can be to do that once we've done the first one. Let's move this over. I'll quickly expose a second set of teeth. Activate the Move tool by pushing on the V key. We'll drag this over here and drop it in there. And let's see, it came in underneath there, and I'll just put it on top so you can see it, and move that back underneath and reactivate this layer so it's on top. So you can see it's actually a little small right now. We're going to need to grow that up a little bit, and we're going to use that tool we used several times. It's a very popular tool that I use. It's the free transform tool, and again the hotkey, Command or Control T. So I'm going to bring that up. Command or Control T, there we go. I need to activate that first there. There we go, that layer, Command or Control T, and there we go. Now to change it proportionately, I hold down the Shift and the Alt key, grab a corner, and we're going to grow it up a little bit bigger than maybe we need to. I'm going to center it right there. All right, then the first thing we'll do is apply that change by hitting the Enter or Return key. And now that we've applied that alteration, now we want to put it behind his lips. So we'll come over here to the Layers palette and drag it behind. And now you can see, we'll click that on and off so we can see his first set of teeth that we showed him. All right, so now we got it about in place. With the Move tool on, I'm going to kind of center it right there. And I'm going to turn back on the free transform. Command or Control T. Bring that back up, maybe center that just a little bit right there. Come up and grab a corner. Hold down the Shift and Alt key again. I'll work a little bit faster now because you should know the technique. There we go. Bring that over there. And I can fine-tune the movement by using the arrow key just to the right, on the far right of the computer. Move that, and that looks pretty good, and I'll hit the Enter key to apply that. So there's another option. I can show them one option, another option, and I think we need to move that over just a little bit so we can show the patient several options. Let's just say the patient doesn't like the brightness of that. Says, well, I like that, maybe a little better, that shape, but let's go a little brighter. Well, how do you quickly do that? You go up to the Image menu, Image, Adjustments, Brightness. Now with this layer highlighted, the layer of the teeth, you go to the brightness slider, and you could go way over here. Obviously you wouldn't do that, but to maybe what you think is a reasonable amount, let's say a 26 in this case, to show the patient. And now we've got, we'll click these two off. There's our before, there's our first option, there's our second option, and again we can do the same thing. Turn this one off and look through this, and then zoom in and see if we think we can do that. See if we positionally think we can do that without any adjunctive therapy, i.e. ortho and or perio. So you can see how easy it is to do the second and the third and the fourth one. I wouldn't have more than two or three library teeth, because the patient might have you doing it for hours. Anyway, that's how I use library teeth to show the patient potential alterations.